Coming up on the Martinez News Network, we take a look at two crises gripping America. Synthetic opioids like fentanyl are causing a spike in overdose deaths, especially with counterfeit pills flooding the markets. Later on in the news, the national teacher shortage crisis continues, impacting the education of millions of students. Stay tuned for a more in-depth story. Thank you for joining us today on the Martinez News Network. I'm your anchor, Caleb Martinez. Our top story for today: fentanyl is now the leading drug involved in overdose deaths, not only nationally, but also here locally. Reporter David Martinez Castro has been investigating the fentanyl's impact on our community. Today, he brings us a difficult story.
Thank you, Caleb. Here in our community, we follow the story of a recent victim that passed away no less than a month ago. On February 19 of this year, Dylan Raul Harrison passed away to a fentanyl overdose. We have Johnny Lee Harrison with us today to tell us more about his son.
He was 29. I went to visit him on his birthday. He had just been back about a week and a half from rehab. He was doing okay, His mom called me that she couldn't reach him on Sunday. She called his cell phone and somebody else answered it and said that he was in ICU. She went to the hospital. She called me. I went to the hospital, that he had been smoking marijuana that had been laced with fentanyl. He was already brain dead. He was in a coma for 2 weeks before we had to make the decision to disconnect him.
After such a moving story, we asked Johnny Lee Harrison to provide a message to fellow parents and guardians as to how to foresee such a tragedy.
Pay attention to any outcries, to any drastic weight loss or body language, changes of habit. With him, he was very quiet and soft-spoken, and then all of a sudden he was very fast-paced and always talking and bouncing around the place.
Thank you for that powerful story, David. Fentanyl-related overdose deaths in El Paso County increased by 150% between 2019 and 2020, and we know they are still rising at an alarming rate. What have you learned about this, David?
The drug is mainly found in counterfeit pills designed to look identical to authentic prescription medication, such as Oxycontin, Percocet, and Xanax. The Drug Enforcement Administration of El Paso Division has seen a significant increase in fentanyl-related seizures in El Paso, with a rise of over 450% between 2020 and 2021. I spoke to DA Information Officer Carlos Briano to learn more about the dangers of this drug.
We're seeing it in one powder form and also in fake pill form. They're making it appear to be a legitimate pharmaceutical, but they're not. They're fake and they're made with illicit fentanyl and they're killing people with it.
Briano tells us that of the fentanyl-laced counterfeit pills that are being trafficked now, over half contain lethal doses of fentanyl.
But it also takes very little to kill somebody. This is 1 gram of sweetener, but if it was fentanyl, there's 1,000 milligrams in here. That could potentially kill 500 people. Illicit fentanyl is the #1 killer, according to the CDC, of young people, ages 18 to 45.
The DEA has launched a One Pill Can Kill campaign and are working to promote awareness, especially for school-age children.
Speaking of school, let's move on to our next story. A steep decline in teachers continues to affect our educational system. According to ABC News, the national teacher shortage is affecting over 3/4 of the United States. It's estimated that we will be short over 100,000 teachers in just 3 years. Reports indicate that the pandemic and its impact on teacher burnout, coupled with low pay, lack of support, and high stress levels, are the primary reasons for teachers leaving the profession. We spoke to a local teacher, Leticia Myers, to help us understand how teachers are feeling.
The lack of respect, it has fallen as a profession. Well, it's always said that people follow the money, and usually disadvantaged communities don't have the money to pay. People are just not coming to education as a whole, and I think because of salary.
Changing from a teacher's point of view to an administrator's perspective, we interviewed Superintendent of Gadsden Independent School District, Travis Dempsey, to share his view on the problem.
Well, I'm going to tell you the most important thing I can do as a superintendent is put a highly qualified teacher in front of our students, and just finding those is a challenge. But I think part of it is marketing the good things we do, the positive. But he's got to pay bills, and we want them taken care of, and we can't have them if they can't afford their home, they can't stay in teaching.
Dempsey preaches a redesign of the educational system as a whole. Hopefully this happens sooner than later. That's all for today on Martinez News Network broadcast. Thank you for tuning in and staying informed with us. Stay safe, stay curious, and have a good night.